Have you checked the children? Your little mess
Hi, I'm Chucky. Wanna play?
Sometimes that is better.
You're gonna need a bigger boat.
Hey everyone, welcome to the horror show. I'm Cecil Laird.
I'm Fuego here.
And I'm Marcia Parker, and this is another binge-worthy episode. So today we are reviewing 30 Coins. This is a little series, 8-episode series that you can find on HBO Max. It is from, is it Spain or is it Mexico?
Spanish.
Spain, yeah.
It is Spain.
HBO Europe, yes.
And so it's not a huge commitment per se, and when you think about time, and you'll find out why I say per se later on. But the first episode's an hour and a half, and the remaining ones are hit about an hour and change. So, so you're thinking about like a 9-hour commitment to watch this series. That being said, I would say no on the binge-worthy, and not because of quality. I would say just the feel of it felt long. Like you could and heavy. The material is so heavy that you could only really handle like an episode a week. That's all I could handle, and then I would move on. So when you're thinking about the true essence of a binge-worthy show, I would say no. I had it like went over like the course of like 8 to 9 weeks before I actually finally finished watching the whole thing. Whereas other binge-worthy content I can finish in a night or two. So, but it was very high quality. So overall, I did enjoy it, and I'm glad I did watch it. But I would say if you're looking for something quick and dive into, this would not be it.
I feel like going forward, we'll do it this way for this one, but I feel like going forward we should save our binge-worthy decision until the end.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Keep 'em on the hook
but for
for a
this
little
one,
longer.
I'm fine with it because the reason why I say that is because I don't want to have any misgivings about the show. The show is actually a good show.
Yeah.
But it is, like you said, a heavy show. And it is a show that isn't necessarily made for binging, right? It's a lot of heavy material. There's heavy things that happen in almost every episode. But it is a quality, it is a well-made show. So it's enjoyable, but it's just not what I personally would consider binge-worthy, right? If we're getting right to that. We'll dive into the deeper thoughts as we go. But yeah, that's my overall. I enjoyed the series for various reasons that we'll dive into, but ultimately, yeah, I agree with you, Marcia. I did not feel that I could recommend this as a binge show. Like, you're not going to sit down and watch 4 episodes on Saturday and 4 episodes on Sunday, because no, you might get through 2 episodes in a sitting at most, but to Marcia's point, myself and my girlfriend, we did not sit through more than 1 episode at a time on this one.
Yeah, I made the exact mistake that you just mentioned. I tried to just pump through a bunch of these episodes at once, and I even told you a few weeks ago, I'm like, this show is dense, man. The episodes are long, and there's a lot going on. There's various subplots. I mean, we go all across Europe and a couple different times. I mean, we're in Spain, we're in Rome, we're in Syria at one point. Like, it's really, it's hefty, man. And so, yeah, I made the mistake, and I would still recommend it, but not binge-worthy, just to echo you guys. And I think one of the reasons why this aired weekly, they did not drop this all at once. And I think that's one of the biggest indicators about not just wearing out your welcome. And also the fact that, at least early on, maybe in the first half of the show, it is kind of a monster of the week sort of situation.
A little bit.
Now, in the second half, it gets more into just the primary mythology and expanding that. So, I mean, we'll get into overall thoughts and more about that. But binge-worthy, yeah, I guess 0 out of 3 at least for trying to just spend a whole day watching this, or a whole weekend, or whatever. You know, take your time and enjoy the high production value, the great acting, and everything else this has to offer. So.
Yep.
So you want me to tackle the story real quick, Marcia?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Go ahead.
So the story is about this little town is really the primary focus. And there's a new priest that has moved into the town. There's a mayor that is trying to, he has political aspirations. His wife is also aspiring to be more than she is, There is the female that comes in, she's new to the town. Am I not mistaken? Or is she part of the town as well?
Are we talking Elena?
Yeah.
The veterinarian. I don't know how long she had been there, but since she was a lot younger, boy, I'm trying to remember if she was new to the town, because there is a...
I guess it doesn't really matter, but
I don't know.
those are
she
the
wasn't
core
new.
characters, right?
She
So
wasn't
those
new.
are the core characters of the group. That's
Mm-hmm.
and what happens is there is a coin that appears, and it turns out to be one of Judas Iscariot's 30 pieces of silver, and that coin comes with power because of everything that's been built up around it over all of these years. And that is the conceit of the show. 30 coins, 30 pieces of silver. This is about this one piece of silver and how it affects anyone that comes in contact with it. And it draws to it supernatural energies as well as other even bigger malevolent forces. So we did a trailer reaction to this, and we were under the anticipation it was going to be a creature-heavy show. But of the 8 episodes, there were only creatures in 3 of them. The first episode, the last episode, and one of the ones in the interim. But so the first episode drew me in with that, and then I stayed for the rest. So the first episode was a heavy creature episode. The second episode was a Ouija board possession episode. Like, every episode was its own sort of horror trope within the genre,
And that's
and
what
I
I meant
liked
monster
that.
of the week, not like a creature every time, but there's a possessed mirror, there's
Right.
witches in another episode. So I mean, you do get that nice almost like early Buffy, maybe even early X-Files, and to a similar degree recently, Lovecraft Country, where we had the main story going throughout, but they encountered a different sort of like horror tropey situation each week.
Supernaturally.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yep.
Yeah, supernatural. Why am I missing that? Damn.
So yeah, that's the long and short of the story, really, without diving into spoilerific detail. But it, the characters, you get to know them more. It dives into their past. You find out, there are skeletons in almost everyone's closet, and
Twin Peaks and that variety.
yep, and it all unfolds to a big. I will say this: I was really impressed without spoiling, how big the last episode was compared to the lead. Like, it was a season finale where it was like, wow, this is disturbing shit. This is what it's been building towards, and it wasn't disappointing. So, I mean, story-wise for me, the show worked really well.
Yeah, and then for me, I thought it took me a little longer to get into the story aspect.
Okay.
I did see good qualities that I like to see out of the show right off the bat, with the main core characters being as strong as they were, and the plot was intriguing. You didn't quite understand where they were going to take it, and the opportunities, the sky's the limit. You're like, where are they going to go? This is amazing. At the same time, it was because it was so heavy and kind of slow going and slow building, it took me a while to get hooked. But then once I did, and I got past the first and second episode, then I was like, okay, so what else? What's next? How does this play out, and where are they gonna go? And I agree that the finale was worth the wait. So I'm glad I just pushed through it at the beginning to reap the rewards at the end, because overall with the character growth and the creature aspects and the throw in between religion and different worlds and universes that they were able to pull in together to create the universe that they built, I thought it was really well done. So.
Yeah, the inverse church of it all makes me very curious for Fuego's opinion on the story.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's very religious-centric, obviously, which is something that I found very fascinating, and the fact that, these pieces of silver and the power that they gain, they talk at one point that Hitler had 5 of them, that Napoleon had 2 of them. I mean, people have been searching for this for, obviously, that they're just mentioning the 20th century right there, and decades past, obviously, too. I'm trying to remember how far back Napoleon was, 1800s, I think. But, yeah, lots going on there, lots of corruption, lots of aspiration for power and stuff. As tropey as it was, I love the backstory of the priest who is doubting his faith, and yet the fact
the
that
boxing priest,
and he's got an arsenal in his home of machine guns and stuff. I mean, it was deliberately over the top, but one of the things where I felt like it really kind of dragged in the middle episodes was it straight up turns into like a telenovela love triangle.
Yeah.
And I didn't really care as much for that.
No.
And
I
like
tuned out during those parts.
disappearing love interests that show back up without spoiling stuff. I mean, there was just a lot
Oh,
going
the
on
husband, yeah.
amongst all of that where I was just like, they're kind of losing me here, thinking like, give me more horror as opposed to all this dramatic sort of stuff. But they really did finish quite furiously once they got everybody back to the town. And without spoiling stuff, I was very, very satisfied with the conspiracy and brutality and everything that they went for. I was stoked, man. And there is room to more without saying anything else, which it makes me wonder if we will get that or not.
They definitely set it up for another season.
Yeah. At the risk of semi-spoiling, I would say that the look of the Inverse Church was really dope.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, so you literally just flip-flop everything, and it looks evil, even though you're in white. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, I dug that. So,
Like
I guess...
ghost eat your heart out kind of thing.
Yeah.
A little bit,
So,
you know?
real briefly, before we hit on the acting, I want to touch on the production design. I thought the production design of this was fantastic.
Yeah.
I mean,
Asian scouting, too.
they had a clear vision for what they wanted to show in every frame of this show, and they did a great job with it. And especially the production design in that last episode where everything had been converted. It was fantastic.
Yeah,
So
the scale of it all, dude.
Yeah.
Was just whew.
the production design, the set design, all of it was just unbelievable.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. And even just like the thought between the monsters, from like where you had the monsters and how they had their backstory and how they live and like everybody had a piece and everything was connected, and they were able to do that not only with the story but visually, which was very cool, because there's times like it's hard to keep up with the subtitles sometimes when you're just so like engaged with what's going on the screen and visually, and it's like I didn't need to hear what they were saying to understand what was happening visually, and that goes a long ways. So I thought they were very talented in that. There was a time where like there was the whole set for the town was like in fog, right? And you had to navigate through that, and that takes incredible skill to be able to shoot a whole town that's covered in fog but still be able to like see things and feel like you're there, and the eeriness of it is, like you said, it was really well thought out and executed, and that I truly appreciate, because it could go wrong really quickly, and they just really had the right people on this.
Yeah, and they also set the tone very, very well, for me at least, with like the slick intensity of that opening heist sequence, and this person just getting shot up as they're trying to steal this piece of silver, and you know, they don't actually like give up the ghost until they get into the vehicle. And even the opening credits, which are relatively brutal. I mean, it's the crucifixion of Jesus Christ, and of the Jesus of Nazareth, if you will, and the laughing Romans, and then Judas and the guilt and going and hanging himself. You see it at the beginning of every episode, and I mean, it looked like green screen, obviously, and you know, that's set, but nonetheless, it got the point across. It was grim and dark with the color correction. The whole show has this very dark blue gothicness to it for the most part, aside from like when they're in Rome and when they're in Syria, like I was saying, and I guess daylight, but especially as you get to the final confrontation about to happen in episodes 7 and 8, just when they're going through some of these caverns and stuff and these underground tunnels under the city without specifying who or what, but just the look of the show, you could tell they spent money on this, and they took care in consideration, and the location too. I mean, they had to have this huge like castle practically, and the cathedral where a large amount of stuff takes place, and I mean, even the stepping into a mirror. I mean, there's just so many cool bits in this. The transformation of a character where legs are coming out, you know, in one particular episode. Yeah, it's 7 or 8. I mean, damn, it was just, I was very impressed with the look of this show.
And then the acting was on point. I didn't have anyone that pulled me out of the show. I thought, as trite as the love triangle was, everyone still acquitted themselves adequately as far as acting goes. I like the mayor a lot. As
Yeah,
dumb as he
Buckle.
was, as many
Yeah.
dumb decisions as he made. I hated his wife.
Oh yeah.
I loved her.
I hated his
man,
wife.
I couldn't stand her, dude.
But I
loved
think
her
that was
because
her
I
doing her
hated her.
job. Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean that
Oh,
was
yeah.
her doing her job. So, and then the priest was excellent as well. So I thought the acting was solid all across the board.
Yeah. There really wasn't a character that pulled me out. Another shout out would be the village town, the town idiot guy.
Yeah, the guy who's having the visions or whatever.
Oh my gosh, that whole like there was a huge scene that he was in and had me just like on pins and needles, like, oh my god. There's a lot of those moments, but at the same, like, it was phenomenal. He did a great job. Everyone on here on this show was cast with purpose, and you can tell they fit their roles, and they did a great job.
Yeah, I love badass priests, who kick ass for the Lord or whatever you want to say. And so he was probably my favorite, but I did really enjoy that trio as a whole of him, Elena, and Paco the mayor, and just how they banded together, being such despondent and different sorts of people to actually form an alliance to try to figure out what the hell is going on. And also credit to both the ominous evil of our villainous people within the church, from back in Rome to a priest who shows up near the end of the season. I thought he was really good too. And also credit to the ensemble of the town. They don't always have a lot to do, but in the town meeting scenes and in just like the general unrest and growing paranoia and suspicion of, I mean, small towns and their secrets. This was definitely like the Spanish, more religious-centric version of that, and I always enjoy stories like that, probably because Stephen King has written a lot of stories like that, and I always dig trying to peel back those layers. And, as you said, just about everybody had a secret, and in different episodes had an opportunity to shine, and they didn't forget about all of those characters. They still made sure to feature most of them as we got to the final confrontation.
That's right.
So.
And then the effects. I think the effects need to be talked about. Again, there were creatures abound. There were ghostly things, demonic things, all kinds, anything under the sun. Well, not anything, but a lot of the horror tropes under the sun got representation in this series. And I thought, effects-wise, they were all impressive and scary, and especially the creature in episode 1.
I knew when I saw that, I was like, this is why Cecil's having me watch this.
Yeah,
Like,
It was in the trailer, so that's
wonder.
what got us so stoked.
Yeah, so that particular creature, more appropriately scary for me now, 4 months into being a father, than anything else. But the effects were tremendous, and they went with heavy practical gore, especially in the last episode.
And in stabbings and shootings of people too, like hooks at the meat place going through people's stomachs, and priests getting stabbed in the chest. And I mean, yeah, they didn't hold back.
Yeah, so I thought the gore and the effects were excellent through the show.
Yeah, and the practical of the materials of usage, and just like I keep thinking about at the end, when they have this is a set design, but there's a lot more than just a set design going on there. There's a lot of effects that were put in place, whether it be practical. I think it was mostly practical, but there's got to be some of the CG in that too. But it was so seamless, everything that they put in front of you, that nothing pulled me out of it. Especially with the big creatures, because the creatures were huge.
Especially in one episode.
Yeah. So, it was a lot to take, is when you think about what type of monster it was and how easily it could look really, really bad, how quickly it could go bad. It didn't. They really took a lot of care, and I thought they did a fantastic job overall.
Yeah, and the birthing bit at the beginning with the cow, which was just really disgusting, and set the tone, along with that heist shootout thing that I mentioned. And I mean, this was like hardcore 80s 90s action movie, at least as far as the violence of people getting shot up and stabbed and stuff like that too. So I mean, action hounds would dig certain parts, horror fiends would also be pretty satisfied. I think that there was really only a few bits where the CG seemed kind of TV level spotty for me. The fog a little bit here and there, but and one big creature in the last episode. But aside from that, I mean, yeah, man, it was just as impressive as pretty much everything else they've done here. So
cool. So yeah, I don't know. I think that's all of our thoughts, Marcia. You want to wrap this bad boy up?
Yeah. So as we said, we thought that this was a fantastic show. So watch it. We recommend you watching. You watch it on HBO Max. and just be in the nose. Like it is a very heavy show, and it can take a lot out of you just to watch it because of the content it is. So we recommend to try to pace yourself through it. But if you can binge through it and you guys are like, no, I really like this and I did binge through this, then let us know. We'd like to hear that from you. But we do thank you so much for joining us on this adventure on 30 Coins and watching another binge-worthy review at the horror show. And I've been Marcia Parker.
Thank you so much to our patrons for supporting the channel. I've been Cecil Laird.
Make sure to like, share, and subscribe. And I've been Jaime and Fuego.
And remember, guys,
Stay
stay scared.